Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mike Torres, my Austin FC fan. Good morning to all the Longhorn fans out there. Alex and we are back. Last week of us being back, but we'll get to that in a moment. But we are back. And you know what else is back, Alex, that I know has you excited? Rain. Rain is back, baby.
Yeah, man. Dude, there's nothing that gets me pumped up like talking about rain, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long the chat here is gonna stick with me. But
don't bring up the chart. You remember you and Blake used to do the late Travis chart.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna. I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get Tyler to do that every single day moving forward. But yeah, man, we're gonna need. Dude, it's been really good, man. Out here in Spicewood, and I've heard reports from Bee Cave and Lakeway that it's like I think that we're getting like it's like the opposite of usual. I think we're getting more rain out here than everybody else, which is really good. I got 2.5 to 3 inches of rain in 30 minutes the other day. It was almost like I started thinking, gosh, this is a whole lot of rain. I'm worried my house might flood and stuff. So it's been awesome. You know, the only thing it stinks is all the ridges that I like to hike on and stuff. They're gonna be too muddy for the next week or so to be able to go hike. But other than that, yeah, man, just a whole lot to get to today. We're gonna talk about the discussion that you wanted to have sort of about Texas and the secondary this year, especially. I guess it pertains to something that Sark said about Jayvon Cole, maybe, or was it something?
Well, there was definitely some conversations, Alex, that were had this past week. I mean, I think that when we were at SEC Media Day, so there was. Sark talked about the secondary, and as you know, we'll get more into it about the pass defense. So we know that was an area of struggle, but he felt like that thing was going to be better this year. I got something from Johnny Barron that actually didn't write for OB, but I think I'll make sure I'll put that up there today. Cody's got me inspired because I woke up this morning and Cody had written like 3 stories overnight or something. Like Cody was like a madman last night. So I'm like, oh man, I need to write something myself today. So there is that. There's also some Jayvon Cole that's in there. But the conversation, Alice, really centers around this secondary, and is this secondary better than last year? I mean, we're not going to go into the DBU comparisons per se, right? But that was an area of weakness, and it's an area that we know Texas wants to have any kind of success going forward in the SEC. We know that it's sustainable success. We know that has to be better.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cody having the write-ups yesterday. That it's something that Cody did transcribe some of the stuff. So did you see that Sark had the Q&A at the Texas?
Oh yeah, Cody called it nuggets and wrote 1,500 words. I was like, "Hey, bro," I said, "I ain't nuggets. This is like our meal at Terry Black's in Dallas. Like that's more. That was what that was, but it was good stuff."
Yeah. So he kind of brought up the Sark at the Texas High School Coaches Association kind of brought up the couple things he brought up, man. I think the DBs came up whenever we have that discussion. I'll talk about that. But I was just curious that if you thought it was interesting that he's saying as far as the recruiting side, I thought it was kind of interesting that he's saying like he's a little bit hesitant about the summer signing period. He says, and I just thought that was so. Here's the quote. And this again, thanks to Cody for the transcription. He says, quite frankly, I'm a little hesitant about the summer signing period because I think you learn a lot about these players in that senior year. Our sport development is so important in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And then when we get them, that development right into the NFL. And so, sometimes we're passing judgment on kids coming off a junior year. And sometimes even his junior year, maybe he was injured. So how you put all that together. So basically he says he thinks there's an avenue to where you think you can get it done. And that is the calendar that we have this year. But with a signing period in early December, you get into the portal. He says that he's basically saying that what I'm saying is this. I can't tell if this is kind of – people are freaking out about recruiting. Can we agree about that? There are some people that are freaking out about recruiting to some degree. Can we agree on that?
Are we talking DBs or are we talking recruiting?
Just kind of recruiting because I know it's a little bit kind of off kilter, but I was going to read the note about the DBs, but then I just wanted to ask you if you saw this note, just about.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see that note.
So, do you think that that's like, and so we can admit that maybe there's some people that are tilted about recruiting, right? That don't think that they've got enough kids and stuff like this,
Yes,
or
of
enough at
course,
certain positions.
of
So
course.
is this from Sark? Just on a total, we'll talk DBs in a second because he did talk about DBs. But is this from Sark? The Do you think he really doesn't care about summer recruiting, or he thinks it's overinflated? Like, or is this just him saying, "Hey guys, don't worry about it. Like, we're gonna close in December, whatever."
I mean, I think it's him having confidence in himself. I mean, look. At the end of the day, let's not be crazy here. It's no. He's not saying we don't want DeCorian more and we're okay because we didn't have
Right.
him, right? Like
Yeah.
with any of the guys that they were in on, it's not like he's saying like, oh man, those guys. That's not it. I think he's saying to himself, hey, I got confidence. I will feel good. They got the pool party that's going on this week. They'll feel like they'll have some, they'll get the momentum. And look, when you finish with top 5 classes, every year that you're here, yeah, you're going to feel pretty good. You're going to feel like at the end of the day, okay, maybe we don't have it now. And of course, you start hearing the whispers of Texas and so on and so forth. These things get back to those coaches. But I think that's just him saying, like, at the end of the day, I feel good. I think that's what his whole point was. He feels good about what they're doing, recruiting. And, it's easy to do that, Alice, because until anybody actually signs, a letter of intent, everybody's still somewhat open to a certain degree.
Fair enough. Okay, I thought that was one of the interesting things he kind of talked about. Clearly, it was interesting when he talked about some of the special assistants, some of the guys that he lost from last year, and some of the ones he brought in. When he's talking about Scotty Hazelton, who was what was he? He was the Michigan State defensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what he said about Hazelton, and this again was at the Texas State High School Coaches Association meeting, wherever I've heard, and I might
just all on Orange Bloods, guys.
Yeah. I've heard that, man, I've heard all the coaches are there, and that they're putting on really good clinics, and so I'm hoping to get some insight on that, and maybe about what they're teaching. Maybe we could talk about that one day this week if I can pull enough info together. I certainly wanted to write about it. If you're a coach who's been there, man, you can email me, alex@rosterwatch.com. I'd love to talk to you about it. But anyway, he says with Hazelton, when you assess our season last year, one area I think we could all agree on because we can improve in pass defense. As I said, pass defense has layers to it. If you want to be a really good pass defensive team, you've got to have the ability to affect the quarterback, sack the quarterback, put pressure on the quarterback, make him uncomfortable. If you want to be really good at pass defense, you have to have enough schematic variety, but yet be good at those schemes. We needed that as a staff. And so he's saying that you need the players and the personnel who can guard people, right? Who can make plays on the football. But he said that as far as Scotty, he's watched him from a distance. I think, though, I remember, wasn't there something where he was with him at USC for maybe or he was with Kiffin maybe for a little while. Like so here's what he says about Kiffin. I think there was something about Kiffin. Okay, yeah. So he said in his track record, his connection to Gus Bradley and Monty Kiffin and the Tampa 2 stuff, his connection to get involved in the kind of system that I knew at Alabama, a lot of the combo coverage stuff. So bringing a guy like that can maybe give us a little bit of a more variety coverage wise. That was big. So there's going to be some things that are differently schematically here. And I think there are a few things that are important to unpack before we talk about the actual personnel. One, we have Johnny Nansen, who I know he's the linebackers coach, but he's also a co-defensive coordinator, and he's more than just a co-defensive coordinator in name only, right? We've heard that he's coming in. He's actually done some things, made some changes, and one of the things that the linebackers talk about that's being emphasized now is their communication levels with the secondary, making sure that they're always on the same page. To be able to have that kind of stuff and to implement those kinds of things, it does indicate that there is some sort of schematic level thinking that Nansen's doing. He didn't just get hired here to be a linebackers coach saying, dude, you were defensive coordinator before. We don't want you to have to take a step down. So we're just going to kind of make you a co-DC. They're actually giving him a say in this. I think that's an important part of what could be different about the pass defense this year. The second item is something that Sark said at media days and what he reiterated there in that THSCA press conference. And that was that this is more than just coverage. This is also about affecting the quarterback and sacking the quarterback. That's part of coverage. And then the other thing is, and the third thing is just the personnel. And we can talk about the personnel, but I think clearly Texas had some addition by subtraction last season. I think that their portal losses weren't losses at all. The dudes that they lost to graduation and stuff weren't losses at all. So between those three things, like you said, I'm not going to come here and say the Texas DBU is back or something like this. But I think there are things you can point to where you could be at least pretty optimistic about what's going to happen here in the very near future.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you mentioned the analyst. One of the things Sark said last week was that he likes to bring in veteran analysts to have someone to feed things off of and bounce things off of. And that's what he's done. We saw him do that with Gary Patterson. We saw him do that. There was another coach I can't remember. We had a veteran defensive analyst as well. So that's a theme for him.
Special teams guy, I forget his name too.
Yeah, that's a theme. These guys come here for 1 year. You get bounce an idea.
It's very Saban-like. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a smart idea. It's a smart idea as relates to that, and so that that's what's going on. But the real thing becomes, all right, is the secondary going to be better than they were last year? Do they have the guys? Do they have the dudes to be better than where they were especially from past defensive standpoint? They were ranked, I think 116th, 119th or something to that effect. And that clearly, while you may have been able to get to the playoffs that way, that's not a sustainable formula. Like you still want to make sure you have a defense that matches that, and it seems to feel that way. He seems to have some of that confidence as relates to that, and maybe all these components will kind of all that kind of work together. This is something that he did talk about. One of the things that he mentioned when we were talking about last week, he said one of the things he said was like, he started off with, defensively, I think one thing we've got to try to evolve into, and we got to try to commit ourselves to stopping the run. He goes, I think that showed a year ago. Obviously, we know Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, we know what they were able to do that. But he goes on to say we have to be better in pass defense. And he said there's two ways to get better in pass defense. One, got to cover people better. You've got to guard people better. You also have to have the people that can guard them, right? Which makes all the sense in the world. And he goes, you also have to have the schemes to guard those people, but you have to have a better way to affect the quarterback. So we try to invoke that into our team of how we can create more of a pass rush to affect the quarterback, which I think we've improved upon this year, and we'll see the benefits of that. That's what he said last week.
The guy whose name I couldn't think of was Joe DeCamillis. Thanks to the chat for reminding us of that, and of course Nate L means Paul Christ. But yeah, thanks for that. A lot of like we said, man, it's been a lot of assistance come through here, right? But I do think that it's very Saban-like, and whenever we talk about the ability to affect the passer on more, it really is a lot different this year, right? Mm-hmm. Without even talking about the unique kind of cast and crew of the secondary and stuff, it's Trey Moore, Colin Simmons, Zena Yamozolo. These are all new faces. These are all new additions, right? These are all guys who are coming in that are instantly adding to what it is that Texas does as far as a pass rush. It isn't like for every one of these guys, we're just expecting them to be like a Colton Bosick, who we've heard has made strides, right? Mm-hmm. It's like these guys are actually new. They're new dudes who have been added into the fold here. Who it's just we don't have to bake in a projection. We don't have to tell ourselves a story about them. We don't have to say, oh, it's his third year in the program. It's the third year with the strength and conditioning. the nutrition program, all this stuff. By now, he should be ready. It's like, you don't have to weave yourself a tale. It's just you're saying, dude, these guys who've been brought in are insanely talented new additions to this pass rush arsenal. And so much so to where it's like we've had the discussion. How do you get them all to play? They're having to do schematic things to be able to get these guys on the football field as it is. So as far as from that angle, I think we can both agree that they're going to get better production from the pass rush this season.
Yeah.
So it's like if that is such a key ingredient in all of this, and look, it's not me saying it, even though I would say it, and everyone knows it. It's if you can pressure a quarterback and make him uncomfortable and get him off his timing and force him into bad throws, yeah, that helps your coverage, right? But it's something that Sark is. It's sort of like a line that he's taking this year and saying, well, we kind of need an all hands on deck discussion here as far as how to fix his pass defense, and as far as just instead of just laying it all on the feet of what happened last year, because probably it's not fair to lay it all just on the defensive coaches from last year, the Josephs and the Gideons and stuff. Or I don't know. Do you think it's fair? Or if the defense isn't better next year, or if they're just as bad this year as far as the pass defense, those coaches are getting fired, right?
I mean, Terry Joseph is the pass game coordinator. So I mean that's your title. So I would imagine that he would be the guy that you kind of look down at, because Pete K is not going anywhere, right? We understand that. So if he's going to stay around, like, there is that. But I do have a question for you guys before you go too far down. When he starts talking about the defensive line, you have the numbers. Can you tell us about how they were able the numbers as far as them affecting the passer, the disruptions, like things to that effect? Because I'm kind of curious as to what those guys look like, because he's saying he wants to affect the passer more. I'm just kind of curious what did it look like last year? Because I know the pass defense, but what do you have for like the defensive line is concerned?
Well, I like I said earlier, a lot of it's unknown because they're kind of like the or at least the two most talented edge rush guys that they have weren't on the Texas team last year, right? But as far Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, but if we're just and Colton Vasek last year wasn't whatever this iteration of him is going to be, you know what I mean? Colton Vasek didn't play, or so. But yeah, if we look at some of the other ones, they need to get better at getting home. If like it's just the guys who are returning, let's just look and see what
like
we can.
Terrell, Burke, some of those guys who are back though.
I'll need to let me just look. So okay, so Burke is coming back. Who else is coming back here? I can just kind of pull
Sorrell
up.
is
coming back. Okay, so I'll get him up here. Justice Finkley's coming back. Get him up here. Alfred Collins is coming back. Get him up here. Vernon Broughton's coming back. Get him up. God, Vernon Broughton was not productive last year. My goodness. I have to scroll way down to find him. Jerry Bledsoe's coming back. I'll get him up here. Let's see. Sidir Mitchell. He's coming back. Right? Sidir. So I'll get him up here. What I'm doing when I say get him up here, I'm just trying to pull all these players into the same kind of row, so I can just look and I can look at cumulatively what they did together from a sort of a pass rush and disruption standpoint.
By the way, these are Alex's stats that he's looking up. These are his own stats. So it's not like he's on somebody's website looking up these things.
Aaron Bryant's coming back, so I'll bring him up here. Yeah, and my apologies for not having this ready to go. I didn't know this would be the elect.
No, I just always assumed you always had it up whenever you started a show.
Oh no, I do have it up. I don't have the guys all sorted out by who's returning. So I'm having to find the returning guys and put them all in order. Okay, I think I have them all together now. So the returning guys, so between all of them, as far as dudes just along the defensive line, right? 1,762 snaps between them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 returning dudes along the front seven. 762 snaps between them. We have only 12 returning sacks out of 762 total snaps.
Wow. Between how
he-
many guys?
8. Aaron Bryant, Senior Mitchell, Ethan Burke, Baron Sorrell, Justice Finkley, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jerry Bledsoe.
Wow.
We have only 12 returning quarterback hits. We have 50. This is actually 53 quarterback pressures, which is not miserable. That's a quarterback pressure once every, like, again, I'm doing it a bit on the fly here. So out of 1,762 snaps, what did I say? 53 pressures. Divide
Yes.
1,762 by 53. So that's a quarterback. Oh, sorry, equals divide. That's a quarterback pressure once every 33.24 snaps. So that's a big. I mean, it's a quarterback pressure. Basically, if it's a 50-50 mix, if it's a 50-50 mix run to pass ratio, you're looking at quarterback pressure once every 16 dropbacks. Not. I can't really spin that as being very good. I'm trying to say it's not terrible, but it's actually not very good, right? You would want one once every 10 dropbacks. So hits, sacks, pressures of the returning guys, it's just. I mean, look, between I'll tell you this: Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, and Anthony Hill last year, basically, if you add together their quarterback pressures and hits, quarterback hits and pressures alone from Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy and Anthony Hill last year. Okay. That's 59 total instances of a quarterback hit and or a pressure. Now let's look at Sadir Mitchell, Ethan Burke, Baron Sorrell, Justice Finkley, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jerry Bledsoe. All those guys, right? All of them. So 59 total hits plus pressures last year for the 3 guys that I mentioned, those 3 studs, Sweat, Murphy, Hill. 59. Between all those guys I just mentioned, it's 65.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is this.
There you go.
What I'm saying is this. What I was saying earlier really does matter. And we can't just be spinning a tale about all these guys are going to be better this year, right?
Yeah.
We can't just be spinning that tale. It needs to be these new guys are new additions that have been added on that are going to have to make up just a whole ton as far as what they're going to do, because even if one of these dudes were going to take a major 2 steps forward and stuff like that, it's not going to replace what Texas was able to get out of its true frontline guys just last year. And you're not going to be able to replace your any food on your table with anything better than Texas beef traders. There's just no way. You can try going to the grocery store and buying your beef there, and when you do, you're going to buy beef that doesn't come locally. It's probably not even made in America. Your beef is probably not the cows that the meat come from are probably not even American, and who knows what kind of vaccines they're shooting in those things down in Argentina. Who knows what kind of cockamamie steroids and injections and all kinds of antibiotics and everything like that you might be getting in your meat. Dude, Texas Beef Traders is right in the heart of Lakeway. It's all I eat. It truly is all I eat. It's good, lean, clean meat that tastes delicious. Just look, scan the QR code, check it out for yourself. It's cheaper than the grocery store. It's local. It's better for you. It's all natural. It's grass-fed. It's grass-finished. That's if you get the MTX beef from right there in Mason, Texas. It's just right. You can see the photo right there of the tomahawk steaks. But they also have Iron Table Wagyu, which is from Gatesville, Texas, right outside of Waco, west of Waco, kind of up by Hamilton and stuff. Done just the same way, right? Sustainable farming practices. Awesome local family farms that you're supporting. You're supporting a great business. Here's the thing about Texas Beef Traders. Go in there on the weekends. Guess what's going to happen? Darren's going to ask you if you want a beer. He's going to ask you if you're hungry, if you want to cook you a burger or a steak, and he's going to do it. He wants you to taste the product because it's the best beef there is. Okay? Texas Beef Traders. Go to Texas Beef Traders right now. Call him up. Call Darren. If you can't make it out to Lakeway, that's fine. Just call them up, make an order, tell them you heard about them on Orange Bloods. You get 10% off. It's already super cheap. Ground beef is only $4 there. Tell them that you heard from them here, and they'll just bring you the order. They just want you to try it, man. They'll bring it to your house. 10% off. They'll bring it to your house. Texas Beef Traders.
All right. Go get some beef, go buy a house. Nah, I just listen, guys. It's DFW time. And you know, my main man, El Presidente, who will be back with his picks soon, by the way. El Presidente's picks. Can't wait for that. But listen, if you're looking for a house in the DFW area, you're looking to buy a house or looking to sell a house, whatever it is, don't get taken advantage of, especially in this market, especially with all these things that are going on. Eric Sells Homes DFW. The man has got you covered. Make sure that you don't get taken advantage of. Don't go with your cousin and them kinfolk and all them other people who claim they got a little realty license. And next thing you know, you wonder to yourself, like, I think I got screwed. The housing market is tough, but he will make it easier for you. Eric Sells Homes DFW. Buying and selling made easy. Eric Sells Homes DFW. Thank ya. Come on back in.
All right. So we, gosh, man. So almost all, dude. So 400 people in the Specs chat right now. So good to see everybody. Thanks so much. Please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel, and remember to go to, man, Specs really does support us really well here. Man, make sure that you go shop at Specs.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Cheers. Hey, Alex, since we're paying the bills and we got almost 400 people, and we can tell them this later in the show as we get ready to close out, but there's some exciting news that's happening that starts on next Monday for everybody as we start getting back to our football programming and get back to giving more things on the channel. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, man. There you go. There's the Orange Bloods 2024 fall YouTube schedule. So what's going to be happening is that this show stays on 9 a.m. Just as you've like, it's going to go back to the way it was, man. This will be 9 a.m. Anwar will be on. Flying solo on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Although I'm sure you're probably gonna have some of your guests and stuff.
Oh yeah, you know, get Sukamel on Tuesday. I'll bring in guests throughout the week. Catch will come in probably on Friday. So I won't be. I'm solo somewhat, but not that much.
And is that gonna be basically? Is that 1 hour, like 1 hour-ish, something like that?
1 hour show. So Overreaction Mondays on Monday. Then, you know, which is about an hour, then, you know, another hour should change, unless I just feel in the mood to keep going. But I'll be there in every morning.
Okay, and then House Divided stays the same, but they're going back to their extended show, right? Like their show lately, if you've been watching, has been you know, like an hour, right? Hour and a half in the off season. I think they're going back to like a 2.5 hour show, man. They're going back to their old school kind of radio, kind of, you know, midday show. So that'll be good with Catch and Chad. And then I'm coming back with Football with Friends. That'll be at a new time, 6 p.m. I've been told that the analytics are much better as far as that time, as opposed to that 3:30 to 5:30 that we did last year. You know, people are, you know, it's a tough. I mean, I get it. It's a tough time because people. It's like a mix of like people leaving work and then people getting in their car and stuff. And by the time they get in their car, the show's over. So I can understand why that was a rough time. So we're gonna move that one from 6 to 7, and that's gonna be me. It's gonna be with Cody Carpentier as well. Cody and Catch still have to kind of have a meeting about that and get everything talked over. But you can expect to be seeing a lot of Cody on there. And then there's also The Outsiders, which is returning. Now, I believe that they're still staying on a weekly. It's going to be a weekly show. Is that what Chad
It's a weekly show until, I believe, football season gets started. Then when football season gets started, I think they'll either go to 2 or 3 days a week. So this is just the schedule probably until the end of August. Then The Outsiders will crank back up a little bit more.
Yeah, so this will be this should be the schedule for basically for the season, but we just don't know the outsiders. I think that they're going to start back from like 2 days a week or whatever. Was it 2 days a week or 3? I forget. I don't know exactly what it is with the outsiders, but once we, like Omar says, once we get to August, we'll have the exact days that is going to be. I think right now it's staying weekly on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So that's the update, man. So the main news is that Anwar back to the morning show, me back to football with friends, man. It's fun as hell. Can't wait to get started again.
You and Cody, man, the dynamic. I didn't know if you were going to still keep it football with friends or if you're going to do something different.
It's football with friends, man. Fun as hell, dude. We're here to have some fun. Yeah. We're here to have some fun. It's gonna be a fun show, and especially since it's 6 at night, I might be able to like get by with maybe like on Fridays, like cracking a beer during the show and stuff like that. It was way too early to do that on the
3:30 is a little bit of happy hour.
Yeah.
Trying to do it, but
6 p.m. on a Friday, man, you can crack a beer before the college football games kick off. Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
Oh yeah.
Come on, it's fun.
Absolute. Now I'll be watching on Fridays. When I did Drunk Unk, I used to drink all the time on the show at 9 o'clock at night. It didn't matter.
Oh, well, dude. I mean, 9 at night. Yeah, by 9 at night. Yeah, I'm definitely having to crack a drink if I'm cracking the mic to hop on the YouTubes, dude. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So yeah, that's all good news and good stuff. Make sure that you stay tuned in here. Stay. As Cody says, stay tuned in, stay tapped in, and we'll get everything back sorted here, and a bunch more content coming here to the channel. All the more reason to like and subscribe. Okay. The actual DBs.
Yeah, let's talk about those guys.
Because in the chat, somebody just tuned in and they said, no, DBU is not back. It's Sandman saying that. No, DBU is not back. So
let's talk about the DB, Sandman, because what Alex outlined, and this is really interesting now, because Alex outlined what it looked like up front, but not necessarily like the DBs. And we look at some of the guys that, if you're talking about the Malik Muhammads of the world, the Derek Williams of the world, the John A. Barons. I mean, Alex, those are probably 3 future draft picks. Is that it's safe to say?
Somebody needs to get fired if they're not good. I'm sorry. I hate to say it, but it really is true, Anwar. We can go over the numbers. Like here's the other thing too. Michael Taft is good. And whether or not people want to say it, whether people want to say he's Johnny on the spot, if people want to just call him you can say everything you want about him. Gym rat, coach on the field. You can give him all those things, right?
we know. I'll say it, Alex. I'll say it. Michael Taft is a white DB, and because he's a white DB, he doesn't get the credit that he would normally deserve if he was a black DB. I'll say it.
It's just, dude, he's actually like Taft is actually, if you just look at his production he's Andrew Makuba comes in, and he comes in from Clemson, and he's an awesome player at Clemson. And you don't just transfer from Clemson to Texas, where you have a starting job there anyway, and you come to Texas to like fight it out for a job, and all of a sudden here's Andrew Makuba saying, "What the hell is this? Who the hell is this guy? Why am I not starting?" And I don't know if that's Trey Moore didn't come in and start, and you and I have had this, or I don't know if you and I. It feels like we've had this conversation, but do you come in and you just come in and say, okay, we're not just gonna give somebody the job, right? You got to come in and work for the. Oh, we did talk about this just yesterday. It's been Banks, it's been Worthy, who've been the guys who come in and they've just gotten jobs.
Yeah.
So but gosh, feels like Isaiah Bond came in and got a job as a transfer though, and when it's just for Makuba. But I mean, if you look at Taft last year, I mean, out of guys who qualified with a qualifying number of snaps, out of 100 total snaps, the only guys on a per snap basis that were more effective than Michael Taft last year, just on a per snap basis, were Tavondre Sweat, who generated production once every 5.44 snaps. And that production, as I've mentioned before, is just my scoring formula where grades are assigned on a per snap basis for solo tackles, assisted tackles, quarterback sacks, quarterback hits, quarterback pressures, TFLs, batted passes, fumbles caused, fumbles recovered, run stuffs, PBUs, INTs, blow-ups, defensive touchdowns, defensive safeties, lockdown bonuses for DBs, which is an amortized production schedule that I've created, number of times thrown at, number of completions allowed, missed tackles, coverage burns, penalties caused, and blown contains. Also taken into account is completion percentage allowed for DBs, snaps per coverage burn for DBs, and snaps per missed tackle for all defensive players, right? This is an all-encompassing formula here. T'Vondre Sweat generated production once every 5.44 snaps. Byron Murphy generated production once every 6.09 snaps. Anthony Hill generated production once every 6.24 snaps. Ethan Burke generated production once every 8.12 snaps. Jaylen Ford generated production once every 8.12 snaps. And right there, right after those 5 guys is Michael Taft as far as his production on a per snap basis, once every 8.19 snaps. That guy's good. I hate to say it, he might not look. I actually kind of think he looks athletic and good too whenever he plays.
Yeah,
he can jump high, he gets up. So that guy's good. I think that Taft has an NFL future. Probably more as a special teamer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the height might be an issue with Taft as far as the NFL is concerned. I don't think he's the tallest kid. I gotta look him up. What is he listed at?
I don't know. Whenever I say he can get up, I think that kind of has an inherent implication to it that he's a little bit short to begin with.
Yeah, they listed about 6 foot. He's about a good 6 foot, Alex. Yeah, he's probably a good 6 foot, maybe a 5'11" ish.
I think he's that same 6 foot that I am, where I go into the doctor's office wearing my big shoes and I'm 6 feet.
yeah. Because I stand by, I'm legit 6'2". So when I stand up, by the way, anytime anyone ever sees me, they always say you're taller than what I thought you would be. That's probably the number one comment I get. But when I'm a legit, and so I know when I'm looking over him, I'm like, oh, okay, he's probably that 5'11" range.
Yep. Okay, so we know he's good. We know Derek Williams is. We know that Derek Williams, as far as Derek Williams, you'd be surprised. Like on a per snap basis, we just talked about Michael Taft once every 8.19 snaps. Derek Williams was actually below him on a per snap basis, once every 9.96 snaps on a pretty. Michael Taft and Derek Williams played about the same number of snaps last year. Remember, Derek Williams didn't really get up and going as a total stud starter till more towards the end of the season, right? Till more towards the end of the regular season. It's how it kind of goes with a lot of these guys. It might be how it goes next year with Colin Simmons.
Yeah.
Right. It's how it went with Anthony Hill, although Anthony Hill got injected pretty early, but he wasn't just an outright stud star. What Jaylen Ford last year played 668 snaps. Anthony Hill played 429. It's like that's a pretty big difference. It wasn't until the end of the year those guys were playing equal snaps. But Derek Williams, total stud too, right? And for him, I don't have to read out all the stuff. It's just like you've looked at Derek Williams, and you know what Derek Williams is, and you know that. Even though Michael Taft is really good with all this stuff, Derek Williams is close. He just covers ground so fast, and he's so long. And it just goes to show in his completion percentage whenever he's clearly targeted, whereas he only allows a completion. It's an exact 50-50. Whenever he's clearly targeted, whether he's going to allow a completion, whereas with Michael Taft, you're looking at more like a 64% completion percentage whenever he's clearly targeted. I think everyone knows Derek Williams has the higher ceiling, right? But that's an awesome player. Taft is a good player. Now you have Makuba come in, who everybody thought was going to end up taking a job, right, from all these guys. And then that's before we even start talking about Jelani McDonald, who's going to be one of the superstars of this team in the future and could make waves this year, right? Yeah. Behind those guys, you got Filsaime and stuff.
I was going to say what about Filsaime as well.
Yeah, I think that, dude, these safeties are good enough to where you got a 5-star Filsaime. He's not going to play this year. So right. It's like, what do we make of that? What does all this mean? Like, because when you look at the DBs, Manny Muhammad's better than anybody. Well, I don't know. He's better than I expected. I didn't expect he was going to come in and be this good.
The only thing that made me wonder about it is that I remember, was it Muhammad? No, it was Williams. Was it Williams that Sark said was a future NFL pick, a first round pick, something like that? Oh, I think it was Williams that he said it, not Muhammad. So yeah, I could get you.
I mean, Muhammad's just really, he's really good with the PB. You know, it's, you have guys last year, like, you know, everybody talks about how effective Jayvon Barron is with getting his hands on the football and his PBUs and all the stuff like that. And I mean, I get it, but if you know, seven PBUs last year versus only 5 for Manny Muhammad. Manny Muhammad's second on the team in that particular category. Only burned in coverage once on 362 snaps. He's he's a tough cover, man. He's really good. He was Texas. He took Terrence Brooks. I'm sorry. He took Ryan Watts' job last year. Ryan Watts is now in the NFL. What was he, a 6th round pick?
Mm-hmm.
Manny Muhammad took his job.
Yeah. So
are we talking about good players here or what? And then, dude, we haven't even talked about Jayvon Cole.
Oh, and that's a guy that we, you know, his name started coming up, you know, a lot during the SEC media days, Alex. And I think it was it on this one. Sark called Jayvon Cole. He said Cole is a natural cover corner. He said it's hard to sometimes describe those guys because maybe he doesn't have the best length you've ever seen, or is not the fastest guy you've ever seen, but instinct sometimes overrides those things. You can feel his instincts out there, and I think he's going to add to that room, which I think has got a lot of depth in that DB room. And the other thing I would say is that when I asked Jayvon Barron about him, he described Cole as a guy who has a really good feet, very impressive feet, and called him twitchy as well. So there's Cole in there who's in the mix, who's been impressive as well.
We didn't even talk about Barron, who Eric Galko, the director of the Shrine Bowl, in the interview we did at the SEC Media Day, says he might be the best nickel player in all of America. So add that into this mix. Somebody's getting fired if they're not good. I mean, I'm being serious. It's like, I mean, as we go through it, like
hard to find a weak link.
What are the 3 things that we outlined earlier, Anwar, or that I won't ascribe this to you. The 3 things that I outlined earlier. The pass rush needs to be better. Sark has said it, but we all know it. That needs to be better for the coverage. Nansen is here. He's changed things. He's made the communication better between the linebackers and the secondary. And third, the defensive personnel is good. If there's not improvement this year, you're gonna have to ask yourself why. Yeah, like you really, really, truly are. There is some element of dysfunction if this is not better. So, Jayvon Barron, and which brings us to, do you think Jayvon Cole is going to start? Is he going to come right in and start? Probably not right off the bat, right?
Probably not. No.
Gavin Holmes or something lining up over there, or something. Like, is that the deal? It'll be Manny Muhammad at the boundary corner. At the field corner, you'll have you probably have Gavin Holmes will be the one that starts out over there. And then eventually what's going to happen is I think that Jayvon Cole starts working in and maybe takes that job. Because the thing about Jayvon Cole is I saw all that I needed to see out of him when I watched him play whenever he was at San Jose State and he played Caleb Williams last year.
Yeah.
And he can play both sides of the field. He was on the versus USC, and I just thought the USC game was important because that was Caleb Williams, and he was going against wide receivers like Brendan Rice, who's Jerry Rice's son. He was a day 3 pick of the Chargers. He was going against Taj Washington, who was a day 3 pick to the Dolphins. Going against Zachariah Branch, who this guy is just a. Have you watched Branch from USC?
No.
It's hard to watch those packed games. I know, especially with your schedule on Saturdays on War, but it's
not only that, just trying to hit the games, kids, like you know how that goes, Alex.
yeah. Dude, trust me. Like I've only seen him in like once I started doing the scouting work on some of the receivers and Caleb Williams and stuff. But Branch is super, super sick. And I think he was some kind of 5-star prospect, but he's like. Anyway, so we're talking about like this is an important game, right? You're going against up against the guy that was the number 1 pick in the draft, a bunch of really good receivers, Lincoln Riley. It's like this should be somewhat telling. So Caleb Williams only targeted Jayvon Cole in coverage once, and on that play, Jayvon Cole had a pass breakup. Now you got to remember that this game was a game wherever Cole was in coverage on what appeared to be Williams' first read on 3 times. One of the times was the PBU, and the other times he got Caleb Williams to look off. He got Caleb Williams off of his first read 2 different times. He just didn't want to throw on him. In that game, by my metrics, he managed to generate production once every 8.19 snaps, which is right there in line with those kind of top 5 guys we talked about from last year, including the Sweats and the Murphys and those dudes. We said that Michael Taft was, 8.32? So he would have been ahead of Taft, right there with Jalen Ford, just only really behind Murphy, Sweat, Hill, and then right there with the kind of the Jalen Fords and the Michael Tafts of the world. If we're basing it on this one game, and it was the toughest game that he played all season, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look at last year, like Gavin Holmes, you look at 8.19 snaps for outside corners. That's really, really good because Ryan Watts was at like 11.92. Guys who are gone, right? Terrence Brooks, 14.1. Dude, Gavin Holmes is coming back. He was at 18.94. So Here's the other thing. I hate PFF. I hate their grading, but there's some things that you can look at for them that are actually kind of a little bit more objective, right? So if you look at FBS corners that played at least 50% of their team's coverage snaps in 2023, that was 226 total corners. Here's how PFF had them stacked up, okay? So in their stupid coverage grade, it's stupid, right? But you can take something from it. 26th out of 226. Now, this is Jayvon Cole. Mm-hmm. Reception percentage allowed was 49.1%. That made him 43rd out of 226. Yards after catch allowed, only 37 total. That was 4th out of 226. So really good as far as a sure tackler, right? Yeah. 18th in longest completion percentage allowed, only 28 yards. 51st in forced incompletion percentage. Tied for 19th in coverage TDs allowed. That was only 1. 17th, again, out of 226. This is, we're talking 19th, 18th, 51st and stuff. 17th in opposing passer rating when targeted. 57th in coverage snaps per reception allowed. And 46th in pass play tackling run stops. You take all these things together and you're just like, man, that guy's probably going to start. He sounds like he's probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Jayvon Cole, Manny Muhammad, Jahdae Barron, Derek Williams, and Michael Taft / Andrew Makuba. You can't win with those guys. You can't cover with those guys. I don't know who you can cover with.
What do you think about this? When you start to talk about the coverage, and obviously you watch a lot of the you watch every game, you watch it a billion snaps, right? The Green Lantern, who I love, by the way, he brings up this point, and I want to see what do you think about this? He said our DBs continually have problems looking back while the ball's in the air. It resulted in excessive pass interferences, missed interceptions, weakly made them catch over the shoulder softballs, run and peak. Did you see that? I mean, there's plays like that stick out. Did you see that as a problem throughout last season?
I think it's a problem with Terrence Brooks mainly. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think that Manny Muhammad gets the looks he's very much at all. Mm-hmm. Think Brooks did.
Do you think Watts did a little bit?
I seem to remember. I don't know. I remember more with Brooks. Mm-hmm. And I do think what is with Pat? Because what that does is it leads to pass interference stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, you have those numbers, don't you?
yeah, I just want to look and just see. It's like who had the most PIs and stuff. Um, where's my deep dig? It's like I have so many tabs pulled up. I'm sorry.
That's really good.
Okay, so PIs. So the coverage burn. It was yeah. So yeah. So Terrence Brooks. I think that was 3 of those. Ryan Watts, 2 of those.
Yeah.
I can't believe Manny Muhammad only had 1 coverage burn all year long. It's just too sick, man. It's really good. Gavin Holmes as well, only 1 coverage burn. That came on a PI as well. But gosh, Keaton Crawford was burned 4 times last year. Dude, that's the thing. A lot of this stuff is, like I mentioned, addition by subtraction. Jaron Thompson was the weirdest career arc of anybody that I've ever seen at Texas. A guy that came in, as a freshman, hard-hitting dude. They have all these nicknames for him. It looks like he's going to be awesome. And all of a sudden he turned. It's like, what happened to him?
Yeah.
What happened to Keaton Crawford? He comes in as a corner, gets moved to safety, and then like he's a corner with fast feet that you really like, and then he moves to safety. You figure he's going to be like some kind of gazelle back there, and all of a sudden he's like too slow. Like this is it was a confounding set of variables last year that led to all this. And I don't see how the same kinds of variables, given the 3 sort of pillars that we laid forth earlier, I can't see how those 3 things in those 3 new circumstances can conspire to leave Texas in any situation close to what it was in last season.
But now, how much, the last thing before we go, Alex, how much is that for you a contingency on what the guys up front do? Because if the guys out in the back are on 7 Mississippi, that's a problem for anybody.
It's a problem at 4 Mississippi onward, right?
I know.
Yeah, if they're at 7, like you got bigger problems.
It's an 80-yard bomb at that point, right?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah. There's a reason. There's a reason where you get Trey Moore's gonna have to be Trey Moore, and Colin Simmons is gonna have to be Colin Simmons, and that's just. I think that's gonna have to happen. I think it would be a fool's errand to say that for sure that any one of these players, be it Alfred Collins, be it Vernon Broughton, be it Barron Sorrell, be it Colton Vosick, be it Ethan Burke, that they have for sure taken a step to become a dominating. And I know we probably got Barry Sorrell in chat saying 88's great, and he's going to be like great, right? He needs to get home. I'm sure there'll be people in chat saying, "Dude, Vosick was a 5-star. He's a 5. All right, he needs to get on the field, right?" Mm-hmm. Ethan Burke, they're going to say, "Well, didn't you see him versus Alabama?" It's be like, "Well, yeah, but what about he needs to be more consistent." All these guys need to, and can they take that step? Of course. But to just project it on any, and I think probably one of them will, right? Probably one guy will come out and be like, "Oh gosh, he made the big leap." You can probably write that down in pen. There's going to be one of these guys who does. Deciding which one who does is hard. I think we're going to get our first look in camp a week from tomorrow. But I think the most important thing as far as that pass rush, and it's still yet to be seen, but I think that there are reasons to consider the fact that Texas added the 2 piece, if you were to say 1 piece from high school and 1 piece from the portal to help your edge rush nationally last year. Mm-hmm. Nationally. The 2, you get your pick of the litter out of the portal, anyone in the nation, and your pick out of the high school, anyone in the nation. They got the 2 guys that I would have picked.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's see what happens. But dude, no excuses.
Yeah. Hey, Money B, not making an excuse right now because he's dropping $10 in the super chat. Said, "Hey man, I'm excited to have football with friends back." So that's for you, Alex.
No, excited to have Money B. Excited to have Money B. Excited.
Yeah, sure. Money B. That's our guy right there. Can we get the coaching carousel back on as a guest? Money B, you suggested that. I actually wrote that down in my notes when we were talking. A lot of times I'm doing things and I have a scatterbrain as well as Alex does. So you see me doing stuff. I'm usually writing down, taking notes, researching during the show. But I wrote down what you said earlier. So that's actually on my list. Margin hooks, not a problem. I'll get margin hooks on. TCU guy, yes. TCU guy for entertainment, potentially. But I'll promise you this.
Yeah, having TCU guys on, man, that's an affront to our conference.
Yeah, I was like, that's a potential. I don't know. He was a good guest, but I think Money B, we need to get some people who are in the conference on here. So I'll get those guys on. But coaching carousel guy, I will absolutely get him. And then and margin hooks, I'll get him within the next 2 weeks. That's not a problem, Money. And then Alex. Before we go, we got another one. Before they don't age.
Thank you, Jason Oblinski. We appreciate you, brother.
He goes, Alex, we didn't know that about Sweat or Murphy last year. Is that a question, Jason?
I think probably was like, I'm always bad at understanding these things, and if I
no. This one I don't understand the tone of it either. So don't feel like that.
All right. Maybe what he's talking about is me saying he always saying like. You can write it down and pin that one of these guys is probably going to improve as far as the front seven. He's going to come in. He's going to be a new guy. He's going to remake himself and stuff. But it's a fool's errand to choose which one. Last year, I'm not sure how this really applies because I will say this. Last year, we did know that Byron Murphy was a total G and he was set up to dominate. We actually did know that. Sweat was a big surprise, right? Murphy being Murphy was no surprise to anybody who was paying attention. But as far as, I mean, look, I think maybe Jason Oblinski and I agree that we don't. My point was we don't know which one of these existing guys is going to break out. Right. Yeah. I think one of them will, but when we have the discussion, well, what's the pass rush going to look like this year as compared to last year? Well, I can tell you one thing, you're not going to have two like motor pistons jamming up B gaps and completely buzzsawing everybody. Right. You're not going to have that. Like, I've seen enough of Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins and stuff to know that they're not Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. We know that. Right. But as far as the edge dudes, you know what I mean? And as far as the dudes who are going to, and the rest of the guys, right, who are going to be trying to get in interior penetration, we know that some of them are going to be good, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to develop and they're going to be good. What I'm saying is, it's. I think it's a fool's errand for us right now to say, I know it's going to be this guy who's going to do this. Hey, that's all. I mean, I think he and I kind of agree.
Text guy 2 says, Alex, he's got his football with friends t-shirt ready.
I need to go back and check that merch store, man. Make sure that we got all that stuff ready to go, man.
For those who joined the show late, just real quick, Football with Friends returns next week, beginning on Monday. Alex, Cody, as he works the things out. I guess we get Alex. I guess it's kind of like a verbal agreement. Is that what it is? And then Monday is kind of like signing day. Is that what that ends up being?
What is it?
You have a verbal agreement with Cody to be on the show?
He's got to talk with Catch about it too, man.
We got to have a signing day ceremony for this.
Yeah, he's got to talk with Catch. But yeah, I mean the plan. Catch and I talked about it I talked to Catch about it at media days. He said he wants Cody to co-host it. I want Cody to co-host it, but he needs to talk to Catch about that and find out what it's a big commitment, and he needs to talk to Catch about that and find out what the exact details of that arrangement are going to be. So we're going to get that figured out here. I think Catch leaves on vacation pretty soon, so they'll get it figured out.
I think just do it, and you guys are sorted out from there. So it'll be great. So Football with Friends back next week in full effect as we're giving you everything. Listen, it's been great, fun conversation. You know what I always say, live each day like it's your last. One day it will be. Alex.
Now, you can email me, alex@rosterwatch.com. You can follow Anwar on X at Anwar Richardson. You can follow me at Alex Dunlap NFL. Bunch of stuff going on at Orange Bloods right now. Jason's out of town, so like we said, trying to pick up the slack for some of this stuff on Jason's side. You might be getting some, who knows? It could be like Journo Alex or Journo Cody, or who even knows what you're going to be getting this week as far as recruiting coverage. It could be coming from some different places. But yeah, dude, football's back on a week from tomorrow. So now is the time to get signed up over on Orange Bloods. We're going to have it covered like nobody else. Make sure and go check all that stuff out right over there, orangebloods.com. The best way to support the show and make sure that we can keep doing this for you for free every single day. The other great way is to like the show, subscribe to the channel. We certainly appreciate it. I'm just going to ask you to do one more thing, all right? Enjoy your day, man. Go out today. Go do something big today, man. Do something awesome for let's say for somebody else. All right. Yeah, like that. For Anwar, I'm Alex. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here on Orange Bloods.